know they would have made me leave like that job. I chose myself in that situation. I chose to do better for me. Handwriting was bad. She would criticize it. She would criticize my designs. Anxious. Like, I could not sleep. Always wanted to open a flower shop. Say que era pura cosa que oh si te voy a conseguir trabajo. Like, I never really thought that he was gonna give me the job. Do an arrangement at me. Like, her screaming at me would get to the point where like I was scared to go into work. Hey amigas, it's Licha. Welcome back to another YouTube video. And before starting this video, bitch, look at my fucking nails. They're so cute. And for those listening, on Spotify and other streaming platforms, basically, I have some really cute French tips. Some like my thumb, middle finger, and pinky all have white French tips with like cute flower designs. And my pointer and my ring have like a cheetah Frenchie design. It's super cute and I'm really obsessed with it. And yeah, um so in today's podcast episode of Licha Unfiltered, I'm going to be going really in depth why I really did leave my flower shop job, how I got the job, just like everything I learned in between, and how everything is going at Sephora, like a really big update and everything I've done so far. Alright, but before we get into it, don't forget to drink your poppy because it's like soda, but healthy soda, and it tastes so fucking good. I really do recommend it. Without further ado, let's get into this podcast episode. So, my freshman year math teacher, I never met him por COVID. COVID pasó durante mi freshman year of high school, and this math teacher, we're gonna call him Mr. Smith. He was a really like chill, like fun, upbeat guy, and for some reason, Mr. Smith siempre lo tenían moviendo classrooms. He was never had one set classroom. For some reason, every year he would have a different fucking classroom. They moved him around all the time for some reason. And senior year, I was walking to one of my senior year, I was walking to my AP Spanish. Y ahí estaba Mr. Smith, and he's like, "Hey, Licha, like, how's senior year going? Like, majoring in, like, do you know what you want to study, where you want to go?" Y todo así. Y yo siempre dije que I want to study in business, pero no estaba segura en qué. Una cosa que, like, I really did know is that I always wanted to open a flower shop. And so I told him that. I'm like, yeah, it's like I want to open a flower shop maybe one day. Porque mi abuela, when she first came here to United States, ella siempre, o sea, ella trabajó en una florería y ella le encantó. She loved working at the flower shop. Y pues ella le encantaba hacer los arreglos y le encantaron las flores. Y to this day she still loves flowers. And so my math teacher told me like, oh, like my best friend owns a flower shop. Let me see if I can get you a job there. Yo nomás pensé que era pura cosa que oh si te voy a conseguir trabajo. Like I never really thought that he was gonna give me the job. Bitch, I was fucking wrong. Um, a week goes by and he pulls me out of APR y me dice, hey, like this is my friend's contact information. He's gonna give you the job. Just like text him y así. Y prácticamente fui al lugar, o sea, le mandé mensaje a su amigo. And so he told me to come in so we could talk about my hours, my days of work y cosas así. Y pues fui y girl, did I not know what I was really walking into? So I went to el lugar and like on the whole like okay, so like ¿cómo te lo explicaría? Walking in, there's like a whole left side. The whole left side is carpet, and that is fucking full of shelves, like vases, mugs, and it's not even like a cute like little aesthetic, bitch. There's fucking different shelves, different vases. There's like mugs. There's like fucking wheelbarrows, like what the fuck. And then on the right side there's just like tile and plants and a cooler for like the flowers and shit. And like the front desk, it's there but it's like very unorganized. There's like a brown table that don't match with chairs, books everywhere, the glass thing for COVID, pens everywhere, paperwork everywhere, and it's like what the fuck. And so we talk about my hours, my pay, todo así. And so then I went home, I got my start date, and like one thing is that I was nervous. I was not anxious, I was just nervous, and I had that like jittery feeling. My first day, I was not ready for that shit. So the back is atrocious. Like the back where we would work was fucking atrocious. There was a ribbon everywhere. There was paperwork all over. There was rotten food. There was flowers everywhere, buckets, plants all over the place. And when I tell you like piles of paperwork from the past years, like it was full of them. Like we're supposed to have 6 tables, but 3 out of the 6 were full of fucking paperwork and mugs and all this shit. Okay, right. And so now that you have a description of what the place looks like, let me just tell you this shit. They violated so many OSHA regulations, and they knew that shit too, because ellos decían like, oh my gosh, I hope OSHA doesn't come here. Like we would get fined at least $2,000, $1,000. Like we would get shut down. I'm just like, bruh, ain't no way. Anyway, so my job, like when I first started working there, was to pot up flowers. Basically, flowers would come in from different parts of the United States, Colombia, Mexico, lugares así, and they would go to wholesalers, and wholesalers would resell it to flower shops. In the flower shop that I would work at, so we would get them in boxes. It would be rubber bands and like essentially like I would cut off the rubber bands and the papers and the cardboards. They would come in, and I would put them in a specific bucket with specific water temperature, specific flower food, and specific flowers would go together, I guess you could say, and they would either go in the front or the back cooler. The back cooler is colder, and that was mainly for roses and to keep the orders that we already had cool, kind of like a little bit like a storage unit, if you will. So that was my job. Over time, I did start to learn more, but I also did start hating it. So my math teacher's best friend, we call him el dueño, the owner, the male owner. Now his mom, la dueña, the female owner, if you will, um, she was also the owner, but her son was the main owner. She would work there. This girl is fucking 83 years old working there. Hazme el favor. What the fuck are you doing there? Anyways, she was the reason why I hated working there. She was mean. If I asked a question, she would yell at me. If I didn't ask the question, she would yell at me. If I didn't, like if I asked someone else, she would yell at me. If I didn't ask her what should I do next, she'd yell at me. So there was just no winning altogether. And back then, I didn't really stand up for myself yet, and it was just horrible because I cried a lot and like it was obvious. And on top of that, I worked during the worst holiday possible, which was Mother's Day. Mother's Day was the worst fucking holiday to ever start working, because especially in the flower shop, because not everyone will have a Valentine, but everyone has a mom. So it was like busy. It was busy, it was chaotic, I was still learning, and the yelling like didn't stop. And her son will sometimes like butt in and be like, why are you yelling at her? Like, stop yelling at her. And she would play this victim card and we'd be like, I'm not yelling at her. Bitch, yes the fuck you fucking are. Like, don't play with me. And as time went on, I learned more. I started taking customers. But before to the point of me taking customers, they would like her screaming at me would get to the point where like I was scared to go into work. And that should never be the case. Like there would be points where I was scared and overwhelmed, and I started getting really anxious to come into work, which shouldn't be the case at all. Like that should never ever happen. And I didn't know, and I didn't tell my parents because I know they would have made me leave like that job. At a point where I would get scared, and I told myself like if this continued, then I'm not working here anymore because that shouldn't be. And then it did get better. And like I said, as time went on, I started taking customers, but that was horrible as it was because I didn't get trained. Like, there was no training for me. Every employee would take me out there and it would be a whole different thing. And if I didn't do it the way that employee did it, I would have to learn the way of that employee. But if I did it the way the last employee did it, I would have to relearn the whole thing. And it was just like so difficult for me. And I'm just like, what the hell? Like, it was just so confusing, so chaotic. And I hated going out there with Elonia because she would just like watch me like a hawk and it would just be horrible. And I'm just like, bro, and like she would scream at me in front of customers. And it was then like it would come to points where the customers would scream at her for yelling at me because they're like, you shouldn't be talking to her that way. And it was just horrible altogether. When I was training out there, like nothing was consistent and it was just bad. And but eventually I did get the hang of it, and as time went on, I started designing. But even then, like in the beginning, it was bad because Lasonia would tell me, she'd be like, "Oh, those designs are ugly." And as someone who's starting to learn, like, why the fuck would you want to hear that shit? O sea, hazme el favor. ¿Quién va a querer escuchar eso y seguir haciendo arreglos, like knowing that she's gonna be telling you that shit? Like, bro, be so for real. And it was just like I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I don't know how to justify how bad it was working with her because she would say my handwriting was bad. She would criticize it. She would criticize my designs. And whenever I would ask her, like I came to a point where I already knew how to design and I knew what I was doing. And if she would say, like, oh, that looks ugly, I would tell her, okay, what about it is ugly? How can I fix it? I don't know. It's just ugly. That's not helpful at all. And like, she wouldn't want to do it. She would always find son. Like, if he sent her to do something, she would find some way to tell me to do it. Like, bitch, this is your fucking company. Yes, I'm an employee, but I can only do so much. Like, you have to put in your part for your business. Like, there was just so many things and story times that I can tell you about that job that truly made it horrible. There were just so many scenarios. Like, there came to a point where like she got so like was so frustrated, so mad, she threw an arrangement at me. Like, she just like handed it to me and like it hit me. I'm just like, oh my god. And like one of my other like friends from work was retiring already because everyone there is like already older, and she was retiring already. And she was like, and that whole week that she like it was her last week because she was retiring, she was horrible to her. She gave her hell. She would scream at her for everything. And like, she put a vase on her desk and she was like, hey, like, I don't have the order, like I need the order so I know what I'm making because anyone can make anything in any vase. And she was like, here, and she screamed at her for no reason. She was like, you know what, I'm not gonna be taking this. I'm not gonna be taking this. If you're gonna be in your mood, then I'm gonna go home because I'm not gonna be dealing with this. I don't have to be here. Because she really didn't. And there was just so many other occasions where she would try to start stuff with me, La Dueña, and I got to that point where I didn't let myself get walked over by her, and I would tell her stuff back, and it would just be constant arguing and conflict, and because I'm not gonna let her walk over me. And I reached my breaking point when we have these big ass scissors for some reason, cut wires, and I was getting leather, which is a type of greenery for flower arrangements, and they're like they all have like ligas tied to them, so I had to cut them. So I saw the scissors there, and she was like, "No, don't use those scissors for that." And I was just so annoyed and so checked out of it. And I'm just like, "Okay, then what are they doing here? If they don't belong here, what are they doing here?" And she was like, "Oh, sorry." And it's just like, I'm not gonna be dealing with you. I'm just not, like, I had reached my limit with her. I did not want to work there anymore, and I was just so checked out. And like, I got tired of wanting, and like, I know like I'm repeating myself, but like, I'm sorry for like, repeating myself, but like, it was just horrible. And I got tired of, is it gonna be an argument today? Am I gonna have a good day with her? Like, no one should stay at a place like that. Like, I'm gonna just tell you that shit right now. Never stay at a place where you're constantly wondering if it's going to be a good day with them, is it going to be arguing, you should go into your workplace like feeling like confident and like good in a way about like nobody like you're not gonna always enjoy going to work, but you at least want a safe working environment. That is what you want. And that was not what I had, because there was rotten food, there was clutter everywhere, there were no clear walkways, there was piles and piles of paper, tons of OSHA violations, and that was just unhealthy. It wasn't the job, it wasn't the flowers, and it wasn't my coworkers, because God had blessed me with amazing, fantastic coworkers that were kind, they were all respectful, they were amazing. Like I learned more from them than I actually did her, and her son wasn't there a lot of the time to see the foul treatment, and when he was, oftentimes he would say something, but not always, and she was not going to change. And if she wasn't going to change, because there was times where like I would break down crying, and my coworker told him on a separate day when I wasn't working there, and she's like, hey, Licha is on the verge of quitting because your mom screamed at her horribly, and that was not right for her to do. And that day, she was also giving hell to my other coworkers, and he was like, you know what, you need to stop it, and you need to straighten yourself out, because you are not going to be treating them like the way you do and screaming at each other the way you did. What's wrong with you? She's young, why are you talking to her like that? And she was like, what did I say to her? I didn't even do any. And then my other coworker that worked with me that day, she turned around, she's like, oh yes you did, I was there, and you screamed at her. And she was like, if you screamed at my daughter that way, she would be crying too. And it got better for a month or two, but it wasn't consistent, and I'm not going to be dealing with that. So like I was saying, the environment and the way I was being treated, for the reason of me leaving that workplace. Because as soon as that whole situation happened with like me and like cutting with the big scissors, I was just like done with it. I'm like, I'm applying tomorrow. I was like, I just can't work here anymore. And so prior to that, I had gone to Sephora, and this girl was shade matching me. Um, she was shade matching me for a concealer, the House Labs concealer, because my Fenty concealer was breaking down on me, girl. And girl or guy out there listening. And so yeah, and I don't know why, we just had great conversation, and she was like telling me like, hey, like you should like actually apply here, because everyone here's nice, no one's gonna scream at you, and like it's a really good work environment. And I'm just like, really? And she's like, yeah, I applied, and I'm so glad I did, because I applied to a few different places, like a few different Sephoras, because I thought to myself, I know about makeup, I know good brands, like, you know, and if there's anything I don't know, I could learn it from there. So yeah, I later on got the message to schedule my interview, and I scheduled it as soon as fucking possible, because like I was like ready to get out of there. Um, I went in there. I went to my interview. The girl that interviewed me, she's one of the managers. She was really nice, and basically, what helped me get it was sound really bad to me, but not really. I used ChatGPT to help me. Like I didn't use it in my interview, but what I did do was prior to it, my English teacher taught me how to use it, and he was like, just like explain it to you the situation, and it'll help you out from there. So I went on ChatGPT. I was like, hey, I have a Sephora interview coming up. Can you help me, give me some like possible questions they might ask me and good answers? And it gave it to me. And there was times where I even practiced it, like, hey, can you give me some questions and I'll respond to my answers? And I did, and it even like perfected my answer more, and that's what helped me. And a lot, I had like a lot of the same questions when I went into my interview, and it wasn't like, oh, she'd ask me something and I chat gpt, no, like it was my words, no chat gpt during the interview, but prior I did use it to help me. And so then afterwards she would just ask, it was nothing like very makeup related. It was like, hi, what's your name, what are your hobbies, how do you work, how like Do you work well with others? Are you good at communicating? What do you do if you have a task to do and someone needs help? Um, and the one, like two questions that I would say out of the whole interview that was related to makeup, if you will, was probably when she was like, how would you upsell a product to someone? And I was like, well, if they're shopping for a moisturizer, I would say, what other skin prep do they use, and recommend some things. What foundation do they use? What primer? And just, things like that. And other like makeup question that was asked was, how are you going to stay up with the latest trends and like makeup? And I just said like social media, like watching YouTube videos, TikTok, like following these brands. And that's so true. That's how anyone stays up to date with like makeup trends. So yeah, that was how I got that job. And she told me that she really liked me, and basically that I got the job. And then I had my orientation date, and this was when I realized I never knew how much my first job affected me, because I was really, really anxious and I was having horrible anxiety about my orientation. So, my orientation day, that was my last day working at the flower shop. So, I worked from 9 to 4, and then I went straight to Sephora from 5 to 9. I will say, La Dueña has her great granddaughter that would stay at the flower shop there with us, and like that was like the one thing that like possibly really hurt me. Like, damn, I'm not gonna see this little girl anymore because she's 6, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna see this girl anymore. Like, oh my gosh, like she was honestly like the sweetest, kindest thing ever, and she was so funny and like so full of energy. I'm just like, dang, like I'm really not gonna see her anymore. But I'm like, I have to put myself first. Sorry, great, but like you're great. I didn't tell her nothing. Like, I didn't say nothing to her, but you know me, my dumb, like, your great grandma is a fucking, and even she knows, because she was there most of the time when she would scream at us. But yeah, so like I was saying, when after my job, I went to my orientation from 5 to 9. And when I tell you it's all computer work, it's all computer work. Um, the first day, my 5 to 9, my manager, or a manager that was there that day, she toured us around the whole like Kohl's, because as a Sephora employee you're also Kohl's, and you have to know about Kohl's, like kind of where things are, and if someone has a question, you kind of like, if you're not like sure, like don't lie to them, but if you do, like try to help them out. She showed us where the back rooms were, where to get what, cosas así. And then she took us to the where the computers are, and that's when I had to complete all these online things. It was so long, but it's worth it, because you learn about the safety regulations, you learn about you get asked harassment questions, like how to recognize it, when to report it, um all those things, like things, all that stuff. And then it teaches you the intro to makeup, like the top brands, top skincare, top fragrances, all those things. And that's what I did the first day. And I finished the second day that I went. But girl, let me tell you, the second day, like I went like 3 days later, and I was so anxious. Like, I could not sleep. Like, I was so anxious, and that all came from my first job, because of how the treatment was there, that I got so anxious at my second job. Like, I was anxious, dude. Like, oh my god. Like, I could not sleep. Like, I would sleep, but then I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it, or I would have dreams about it, or I would be shaking all day, or like I couldn't really focus or do anything, because I was so overwhelmed, like with the nerves, that like it was just horrible. And that all came from my first job, because of how treatment was there. So yeah. And then came the second day, and I finished all my online stuff. I met the store manager. Everything went good. I told her that if I can, I will take more hours, because I'm no longer working in my flower shop job. I didn't tell her like I'm no longer working there, but I told her like, I'm more than willing, and I want to pick up more hours. And she was like, okay, yeah, perfect. And then I finished the online stuff, then I went on floor and I learned how to work the zebra, how to restock stuff, how to like check it, scan it, how to work the register, where to get things from the back, and everything was good. But the first girl that was training me, I just felt really overwhelmed because like siento como que ella me enseñaba, and like for example the register, like yeah, I'd be like I'm sorry, like I was a little slow. Not like slow, like when I was doing the register, like when I was first doing getting the hang of it, I was like moving a little slow because like I was still figuring it out. Like I was like, okay, this is this. I tap this is next, and then that. And like I guess ella se desesperaba. Y también con otras cosas when she was showing me. She would rather like her do it, and it's like I'm not really learning. And like and then she would just take over. And then like there was another girl that came in, and like I kind of like went with like kind of like I guess shadowed her instead because the first girl that was showing me, and she was really nice and she showed me a lot better. Like ella me dejaba hacer las cosas. She wasn't like towering over me like the first girl. The first girl made me so nervous, and I was like starting to feel like how I did at my last one when I was like starting to get nervous, like I was shaking. I'm just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and like I was just freaking out, and I'm just like, okay. Until then, like with the second girl, like I felt much more calm. Like she would show me things, like how to do it. I didn't feel overwhelmed like I did prior. And she was like, hey, like I know she's training you, but like if you ever feel like ella se desespera contigo, or like if you ever like, would rather me train you, like tell the store man, not store, she'll tell the manager, porque the store manager had left at that point, and she was like, tell the manager she's really nice, she'll understand. And then like when I was working register and the manager was there, like shoot, like I said, she would watch me. She wasn't hovering over me. She wasn't like, and so it was great. And I it was great. And then like I went to my lunch, and coming like when I was on my lunch, I felt super overwhelmed with shit, and I'm just like, okay, I have to calm down, I have to take deep breaths, like it's gonna be okay. And coming back, I was good. Like I figured everything out. I was quick with the register. Like I did what I had to do. I didn't get so much on floor training, like talking to customers like that, but I was like good with register and like restocking stuff. So more of helping out with like customers and stuff is gonna come next work day, which I'm still, I'm ready for. I wanted to stay longer that day, but legally I cannot do any more hours. But it was good. I really do like my Sephora job so far. Is so much better than my last one. I have 15-minute break. They follow OSHA regulations, and like the girl that was like my new trainee, I guess you could say, like helping me train. She was like, I kind of like let little bit confianza, and I told her a little bit about the flower shop job. She's like, girl, if anyone here screams at you or tells you anything, they'll get in trouble for doing that because that's not tolerated here. And that just gave me like sense of like, oh, it's gonna be okay. And like the rest of the day went perfect. Like it went smoothly. Like it was good, and I met more people, and like it was just so much. It was a better environment for me, and it showed me that the environment I was in was not normal. With that being said, before I end this podcast episode, I want this message to stay with you guys. Don't let anyone talk you down. Don't let anyone yell at you. Don't let anyone make you feel small or anything of the sorts, because that is not okay. I don't care who it is, a boss, a manager, a coworker, a teacher, a family member. That treatment is not normal and something you have to be dealing with. It's just not. I stayed at that job, the flower shop job, because everyone around me said, oh, that's just how she is. That's just how she is. You know how she is. No, that's how no one should be, and no one should tolerate that shit because that is not okay. I realized nothing was going to change at that job, which is why I decided to leave, because those who stayed were already used to it, and I didn't want to be, because that is not okay. And I chose myself in that situation. I chose to do better for me. So if you ever feel scared, anxious, disrespected, unvalued at a job, leave. because you're always allowed to leave. There is always a better job. That job honestly was holding me back because I would have never gotten the experience of working at a good retail job like now. I have a better retail job and it's a better environment, and I have peace in that job. Like, yes, I'm new and I'm still learning, but I have so much more peace and calmness that I right now than I did when I first started and still left my job. I did not have peace there. And at this job, I feel safe. The environment is safe, and on top of that, you deserve to be respected. I promise you, there are better places that will treat you better and places there where they will be kind to you. I really hope you guys learned a lot, again, like what to tolerate and what not to tolerate from specific job places and even like situations in general. I will see you guys next week. Bye.